Have you heard about this personal and professional podcast?
Coaching in Session
with your host, MichaelRearden.
They say that if you want to fight a war, you don't do it by yourself. But yet the battles in our life, in our day-to-day, circumstances, guess what? We fight them by ourselves. And you might think, like if I'm supposed to be fighting these battles by myself, it feels like we're supposed to be alone, right? We can do everything by ourselves now, right? We can go to work, we can start our own business, we can run the business, we can make our own money, essentially. But the people who are buying your stuff, those are people, right? Right. So people are, purchasing your service or your resource, whatever you're giving them at some point, right? You have to ask yourself, are you truly in this battle by yourself? We have fallen away from being the social creatures that we once were. When is the last time you went out with friends and maybe you live near a forest and you go hiking and you have a campfire and some bonfire and some marshmallows and some s'mores? You make some s'mores, and s'mores are just graham crackers, marshmallows, and chocolate all together, and you make a sandwich and it's delicious. But the trick is you have to be able to roast a marshmallow perfectly. Now, if it's too burnt, okay, great, it's not that great. But if it's just right, good, right? If it's not, cooked enough, it's like, it's kind of chewy still. You want it almost to be effortless. In a sense, we look for an effortless type of relationship. We look for people who have like mindsets. We look for people who are going to be on our team, right? We look for people who almost like resonate with us, maybe have very similar energies, maybe people who are just nice to us, right? Like, oh, you're a really nice person. Like, I don't mind being around you. Now it's like, I don't mind being antisocial. Most people, they will classify themselves as, I'm an introvert, but I can be an extrovert sometimes. And it's so funny because, you know, most millennials probably would think that, right? Because they're one of the earlier generations to truly think a lot more, right? And I'm not saying the other generations never thought, right? The other generations would just go out and have more time, right? Go out and live world. Like they got to live in the moment really good. But then when technology came, iPhone came out and all the social media, right? I remember I was leaving high school and MySpace had just come out or something, or Facebook has just come out. And I was like, whoa, like, I don't want Facebook. I have MySpace or something, right? So I had MySpace, I think maybe my sophomore year or something, maybe even my freshman year. I was like, this is all I need. And then, of course, Facebook, everyone's going to Facebook, and Facebook is a college thing, and I'm going to college. And so I was like, oh, I guess we need Facebook, right? And you're looking at your friends, you're like, oh, I need more friends. And I was like, oh, this person knows this person, so it'll be okay if we're friends. And sure enough, and people you never even spoke to, or people that, might have went to the same school as you, you're like, okay, great. We're friends because I saw you once before. And so we are social in the sense of technology. But in the real world, if you try to talk to someone, they're like, oh my God, like, I don't know what to do. You know, just today, actually, when I was at the gym and it was chest day, right? So it was interesting, right? Because I was like, all right, chest day. And typically, there's on the day I do chest days, I do my best to make sure there's not a lot of people doing chest that day. So Mondays are like universal chest day. I don't do chest on Mondays. It makes no sense to wait for, equipment when everyone's trying to do the same thing. I was like, I'm changing chest day. So I change it. And I just find the best day to do chest. And then, of course, I have to figure out rotations and stuff like that. But either way, so I'm there. I was walking into the locker room, get ready. There was no benches available, and I was like, man, I'm talking about all of them were taken. The decline, the incline, both our regular flat benches. They had some machines available, but I was like, I don't want no machines right now. So I was like, okay, let me go to the bathroom, see what's there when I got back. And luckily enough, as soon as I came out, there was one bench with my name on it. And I said, that is mine. And I went over there and I had a great workout. Now, while I was working out, there were some kids next to me. They were working out. And if I had to guess their age, they were in high school. So early, probably freshman, sophomore, around there, right? I would bet money on sophomore. So either way, they're probably three guys and one girl. The girl stayed on her phone the whole workout, and she didn't even work out. I think she was literally just there with the guys, and she was literally on her phone the whole time. Right? Talk about being social or antisocial, right? So either way, there's three guys there, and then it's that one girl, and they're all lifting on the bench, right? So they're doing their own stuff, and I'm just lifting my stuff, and well, one of the boys comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, can you spot me?" And I'm thinking in my head, sure, right? Because I'm not going to say no to spot. If you see me in the gym and you need a spot, you come see me. I'm gonna go spot you. I don't care. All right. I could be across the gym, right? You come over to me and say, "Hey, I need a spot." It's like, I got you. All right. Because I understand if you need a spot, you need a spot, right? That's just life, right? We grow together. Well, either way. So he has all these friends, and sure enough, like, I guess his friends are messing up, and I'm almost certain that's what it is, because his friends probably never have went to the gym before. So when he's trying to do his PRs and he's trying to lift heavy weight or some of his heaviest weights, the friends didn't know how to help him get to where he needed to be. Well, either way. So sure enough, I talked to him like for 5 seconds, and that's all I need to talk to someone to say, "Hey, what do you want? Like, how many reps do you want? Do you want to lift off? All right, here we go. On three, 1, 2, 3, and here's your lift off. All right." Now, as he was, going down, no problem going down, right? Gravity is going to help you, but going up, that's a different situation, right? Because now you're fighting against gravity, right? You're fighting against fatigue. You have all the eyes of your peers and all the pressures that are going in your mind. Can I lift this? Am I going to be okay? Right? Well, sure enough, he gets there maybe about 70% of the way. Right? And he hits a wall. If you know anything about working out and spotting someone, you do not help them when they get 70% of the way and it seems like they're stuck. You do something to affect their mind to think that you're helping them. So you put your hands under the bar, right? You do not touch the bar at all. And if you do touch the bar, you touch it with like 2 fingers or something, right? And when you do that, right, the mind is like, this is a mindset battle now, right? Because he is literally touching the bar, right? I have some assistance, right? It's almost like the placebo of help, right? 2 fingers is not going to lift up, 200 pounds. Okay. Of course, you're a superhero or something like that. Sure. But, 2 fingers is not going to be able to lift it up if that person gave out 100% of their strength and power. So then that means you will have to switch over your grasp and lift that bar up. Well, either way, this is not a gym episode. This is the aspect of him being able to come over to me, ask for help, and then for me going over there and asking, "Hey, what do you need?" And then giving him what he needed. After, of course, a fist bump, good job. All his friends were kind of like, "Nice job, you killed it," things like that, right? Good supportive friends, right? He's the strongest person in the group. And the girl was still on the phone. She didn't smile. She didn't do anything, right? She was just kind of there, right? Okay, whatever, right? And I was almost tempted to pull him to the side. And I was going to say, it's good to have more than one group of friends that, that you want to grow with and you want to, see everyone grow and prosper, right? That's a good group to have. But then there's another group you should have. You should have a group where you're not the strongest and the people around you are stronger than you are. So you have an aspiration to be stronger. Because you know what happens when you become stronger? Because now those friends that were in that group of you being the strongest you would still be the strongest, but now they're becoming stronger more rapidly because now they're like, whoa, this person's going real far, real fast. Let me figure out how I can motivate myself to do what I need to do. In a sense, being social creatures allows us to see what is possible. If he can do it, why can't I? And this is the whole conversation where many people, they lose themselves in the moment. They lose themselves in the times because you're so distracted by one of these here, right? One of these phones, right? This phone right here is a wonderful thing to be connected, but it has caused more disconnection in our recent years than anything else in the world, right? Talk about a natural disaster coming in and taking out the power. Guess what? Most people will come in together and they'll help each other, and it feels like the camaraderie is there and it feels good and it feels like there's hope, right? But what happens when the natural disaster is done and can go home and you have lights again, and you have power and you have food and running water and things seem back to normal? Do you just say, well, let me fall back into comfort that I was in before? Let me go back on my phone. Let me text all these friends that I have and let me go on social media. And it might feel like that's what you should be doing. Social media is a great way to, meet people. I meet so many people on social media who fall into listening to the podcast from social media. This is, of course, a resource for you to gain knowledge, right? There is no better way to gain knowledge, right? Of course, you can go to the library and read a bunch of books and things like that. But if you think about how much input you're giving your brain, literally from swiping on videos and things like that, it is the most ever in history, right? We can, of course, read books, right? It's going to be one sentence at a time. It's going to be one word at a time, and we're reading, right. You're learning, but it's not like what's happening on the phone. Now, the phone has a negative effect because we are getting so much stimulus that it's almost like it fries us, it burns us out. And there's a war in Ukraine. Oh my goodness, Russia is going to nuke us. Oh, something happened with in politics, and there's a natural disaster, and there's a like a killer on the loose, and there's so much that we almost have to be worried about. In a sense, if you didn't look at your phone in the morning and you said, what do I have to do first? Okay, I have to go to the gym. Do you have a workout buddy? Great. If not, you go to the gym and you kind of, figure out what you can do by yourself. And then you go to work. And are you going to work in, like your own car? Do you have like a carpool, or you take a bus or a train or something, right? Do you talk to any of those people if you have people around you, right? Maybe, maybe not. Then you go to work. Maybe you have your own cubicle, right? You're boxed off from everyone. You're secluded, right? Don't talk to anyone. Focus on your work. Well, okay, sure, right, whatever. You get back in the same car. You drive by yourself home, unless you got the same people, different people if you carpool, or if you're on the, subway, you got different people. And of course, you're not going to talk to them most likely because you're so tired or stressed or whatever. Maybe you're focused to go to the gym. There's a lot of things going on in your brain, right? Your brain's going 100,000 miles an hour. And if it's going that fast, how can you slow down and pay attention? Maybe on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday, right? You go out with your friends and you turn up. You're like, oh, look at this and things like that. And maybe you are one of those people who you have a friend group and then you just text each other every day, right? Oh, I have a problem at work, or this person did this, or, my husband said that, whatever, right? You just have this sense of, community and camaraderie, right? We all need it. What is real nowadays, right? Because we have so many people that are almost two-faced, right? It's like, oh my goodness, like, like you're going for my team. You're supposed to be on my team, but then all of a sudden it's like you're doing something that is against me, right? And we forget that everyone has their own individual life. So you might support someone today, and the next day you have a falling out. So you might say, what is the reason for that fallout, right? Was it something that was always meant to be? Something that wasn't meant to work? Who knows, right? But we do have to understand that when we're speaking to people, we can either keep on speaking so we don't listen, or we can start to listen to understand more. So when people are out and they're on their phones and things like that, there's no communication going on. And one of the things that are happening in relationships, and one of the things that is one of the concerns for many relationships, is that there's not good, healthy, strong communication. We are social creatures, and we are over here being antisocial, because I will go to a party, a club, or whatever, and I'm like, I don't know anybody here. What do I do? Let me go to my phone. Let me go to my safe space. So I'm going into my safe space, and it stops me. It inhibits me from wanting to meet everyone else. And I'm not saying that you need to meet everyone, right? Because I was part of Toastmasters, and I'm part of Chambers of Commerces. And you figure out very quickly if you want to make this circle your circle, right? And your circle does not have to be big. You need maybe 5 people in your circle, right? And you could take over the world if you have the right 5 people. Now, everyone has your skill, right? You're not going to just say, well, the reason why you're in my circle is because, I like you, right? Some some circles, they have to have utility, right? Now, I'm not saying that you can't have circles where you just like everyone, right? Maybe you like that they're an artist. Great. All right. Does that bring about any benefit to you? Maybe it does, right? Maybe you buy your paintings from them. Maybe they give you different insights on the world because they're thinking in a different light. There are so many different things that can happen with different dynamics of people. Because if I'm in a group of lawyers, whoa, the level of conversation typically is going to be a higher caliber than if I'm in a room full of, let's say, fast food workers. And even though, you can have a wonderful conversation with a fast food worker, again, there's a dynamic. The first dynamic is this: job titles. So I am a CEO, right? I could talk to other CEOs, and then the dynamic is I'm talking to like minded individuals who are entrepreneurs. But then I could just talk to someone who has a 9 to 5, right? I could talk to a janitor. And my conversation is very different. And I can tell you that the conversations I'm having with them are much more wholesome than the conversations I'm having with the lawyers and the CEOs, right? Because it almost feels like it's synthetic. So, which one do I choose? I like to have 3 groups of friends. That's just me. All right. I have friends that are going to be well ahead of me, right? Just like you're killing it right now. You're doing wonderful things in your life, and I aspire to be that. Then I have my peers, right? People doing the same thing as me, right? It's great, comfortable. If I want to be comfortable, I just go in that group, right? It's like, oh, I want to be like, everyone's even, right? It's nice here, right? But then you have your friends, of course, that are always looking for a handout. Hey, Mike, can I get this? Hey, can you help me out? And things like that, right? So, hanging out with them, cool. But then at some point, you have to say, where are you going to spend the majority of your time? Because we are social creatures. Most people, they spend time in the wrong social settings. So if you are not even giving yourself a social setting, that is incorrect, right? And I'm not saying that you have to be this extrovert and say, I'm going to go out and be boisterous and things like that. Your social setting can be maybe behind a screen, right? In a chat room, in a group chat, right? We have group coaching. People can have their camera on, they can have it off. It doesn't matter, right? But you're in there, you're listening, you're finding people that you can resonate with, right? You're listening to other people's problems, maybe, and you're getting different answers. And everyone has a say and they partake in it. It's not just me giving the answers because I ask everyone, I say, hey, does anyone have a good solution for whoever is speaking, right? And maybe they don't want to use their voice because they are shy, right? Maybe they're just, that introvert. So they just type the question. Perfectly fine, right? There is no limit to how much we can help someone if they're giving themselves that avenue to be open for learning and accepting something new in their life. Well, we come from our peers in our high school. If you go to high school, many people are homeschooling today. You do have to give yourself of this aspect of a friend. At almost every age, you give yourself a friend, a best friend, if you can, right? It could be a neighbor, it could be someone from school, it could be a sibling, but I have found that siblings are not necessarily the best social friends and stuff. Like that's one dynamic, like your family's one dynamic, of course. So if you're a parent, right? So you have your wife, maybe your husband, and then you have your kids, your dog, whatever, your grandma, grandpa, you have your family, right? That's one dynamic typically, right? Now, of course, you can separate the dynamic by political stuff, like oh, you're, like you don't want to talk to grandpa, or I don't want to hang out with grandpa because he's always talking about war, he's always talking about this, and maybe you don't want that in your life, or you want that in your kid's life, right? Whatever. So there's an aspect to that too. But typically, family is going to be one aspect. You need an outside thing from family. Now, of course, you can have family in your outside thing too. So, for example, let's say you join a bowling league, and the bowling league is a big bowling league. It's got 100 people, right? You can go with your brother and your sister, and you can go to the bowling league. There's going to be 98 other people in that league that you can speak with. Now, of course, you do a disservice to yourself if you say, you know what? I'm not going to talk to any of these 98 people. I'm just going to focus on my family. I'm going to focus on what I need to do, and I'm not going to be social. Okay, great. Right? You still can get far enough, right? There's an African proverb, and I love this one. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Imagine if you had a team of people helping you with your dream. How quick could you get to that goal? For example, if you wanted to, let's say, clean your house and you have a 5-bedroom, 5-bath, and you have a nice living space, a kitchen, of course, to say 3-car garage makes sense. Well, guess what? You have to clean every single one of those rooms. How long would it take you to clean individually each of those rooms? Right? Maybe it takes 20 minutes per room, right? Let's just say 20 minutes, right? It could be 5, it could be 10, right? Just use whatever number you want. Like, don't say, Michael, it doesn't take 20 minutes to clean a room. You clean your room at any pace you want. You want to be 1 minute? Cool, whatever. If you're cleaning at a pace of 1 minute, you're still going to have 15 minutes in your day or something that you have to spend cleaning. You got 5 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms. You have a 3-car garage. I'm considering each one of those, different areas. You have your living room and you have your kitchen. All right. You have 15 minutes, or if you want to multiply that by whatever number, that is how long it's going to take you. But if you had 15 friends, for example, you spent 1 minute doing exactly what you could have done in 15. If you want to go fast, you go together. So now we understand that if we can find the right people, we can do some great things in our life. Where do we find these people, right? These social members of our community that we need to help flourish, right? Well, of course, you can go to social media, right? You could be antisocial for a little bit. You can say, I want to be around these people and I want to do this type of thing. Great. You can go to local events. One of the things that I love and I recommend to everyone who's looking to build a stronger connection with people and to find members that they can incorporate into their own circle is to go on like walks or hikes or something, like where it's not Groupon, but it's like something where you're meeting up with, it's called Meetup, right? So you go to this meetup, and the meetup is literally like, we're going to go walk, we're going to go ski, we're going to go do something. And sure enough, it might seem like, I'm going on this retreat with all these people, or I'm going on this event with all these people, and maybe you click it and you resonate with people. And I will say, not everyone is your person. All right. You're not going to just find someone on the street and you're single and you're going to say, you're my person, right? You got to see that person's like truly your person. Do you have the same values? Do you have the same aspirations? Do you, do you vibe together, right? Like, is it a good fit, right? Because maybe, the person is rude and you're like, I don't like that. Like, that's a deal breaker, right? Like, being rude is a deal breaker. And I'm going to talk about like just rude in general. Like, you're so rude. But like, if you're out, like, with a waiter or something, and the waiter is just doing their job and you're just rude to the waiter. It's like, why are you being rude to the waiter? You know? Now, of course, if the waiter warrants something that, requires your animosity, if you want to go that far, sure, right? But most waiters are not just coming in and saying, I hope you have a wonderful day, unless you go to this restaurant in Las Vegas called Dick's. But, most people are not like, hey, I'm going to make sure your experience here is terrible so you never come back, right? Because that waiter probably won't be at the restaurant for a very long time, because they understand it's about customer service. Now, I'm not saying you need to service your friends and you need to, bend yourself backwards in order for you to feel like you belong, or that someone should belong in your circle, right? It's not so much of what can they do for you is what we can accomplish together. And if you can figure out what you can accomplish together in certain groups, you are going to be more likely to do more in your day. So going back to that story with that young man who asked me for a spot, if he surrounded himself with more people who were stronger than him, he would become stronger a lot more quicker. Now, of course, we have to look at different dynamics, because of course his body has to acclimate and it has to grow. So we can't just push him to this strength, right? He has to grow into it. It takes time. Of course, with time, we can get to where we need to be. No distance, if we're making progress, will not be reached. That means as long as we're making steady progress towards something, we can get there. Now, if you have ever driven across a large span of land, and for example, I live in Texas and I used to live in Connecticut, my family's in Connecticut. If I wanted to drive to Connecticut, it's 1,800 miles. 1,800 miles driving is about 21 hours around there. It takes me about 20, 24, 25, 28, depending, right? How much I need to sleep. I typically don't like sleeping on the trip. I'd kind of just say, cruise control, let me get where I need to be. I stop when I need something to drink, or I stop if I have to use the restroom. That is it. All right. And then if I literally cannot keep my eyes open anymore because the caffeine is not working, guess what? I'm pulling over, I'm falling asleep for about 3 hours, and then I'm back on the road. I wake up and I'm like, all right, here we go. That is how I get across the country. It is not fun doing it by yourself. If you have a person with you going across, when that person gets tired, you're like, okay, let's switch. So then you switch off, and then that person's driving while you're sleeping. And it's now you're getting to where you need to be a lot faster. If you can figure out the group that you need to be in, you can create that dynamic where everyone is contributing. And today, it seems like our contributions are individualized. How can this benefit me? How can this make me better? How can this impact my life? It's not so much of what I can do for someone else. Now, of course, we're not just talking about how we can just help people and we can put ourselves out there. Maybe one day it's going to come back to us. No, no, no. Like, we are going to be realistic to the max. If we want to make some progress in our life, we do it systematically, and we do it by vetting the people that are in our circles, our social circles, and then we can separate them if we need to. At the end of the day, people need people. All right. I don't know if you've ever given yourself a challenge of not talking to anyone or interacting with anyone for a week. I hope you don't do it. There's a person who did it on YouTube or something, right? Like they did a social experiment. And the only thing they had was like books to read. So they were able to read books. They had all the food that they would need, etc. And I think around day 3, he started going crazy. He was like, this is ridiculous. Like, this makes no sense to me. And he was struggling, right? And then even after that, he was like, I wouldn't want to do that again, right? Because we are not born into this world by ourselves. Why do we feel like we need to walk by ourselves? Now I understand there's this aspect of being this warrior, right? A warrior should be able to fight his own battles, right? You go into the octagon, it's just you versus your opponents, you versus the world. We fail to see that that fighter had other people train with him or her. They have coaches that are helping them along the way. All of these things happen, and we don't necessarily see all the supporting characters that help this one person. We don't have to always be those supporting characters. One day we can be in the limelight too, but we're not going to wait for it. You figure out where you need to be. You have to figure out, do you even want to be in the limelight? You see all the people on stage and you're like, "Oh, I wouldn't want to do that." But I wouldn't mind doing their marketing. I wouldn't mind, doing, some check-ins and stuff like that, right? You support them somehow, some way. You do your part, your piece, and you're loving every bit of it. Imagine if I told you that you can only be a doctor, right? But maybe you don't like blood. You're like, I don't like blood. Like, I like money. Like, I like finance, so maybe you want to be like a finance person, an accountant. But I say, no, no, no. I don't care if you like money. I don't care if you like finance and numbers. You're going to be a doctor and you're going to deal with patients and open heart surgery and a lot of blood. And literally, you're going against your grain. So you do have to figure out where you truly need to be. Figure out your why, figure out your purpose if you want to consider that. And then the social aspect comes after. So don't just stay on your phone. Don't just kind of move through life. If you see someone, look at them, smile. I went to the gym today, and again, I talked to so many people, and it's not even about always that verbal type of communication. It could be a fist bump, it could be a thumbs up, it could be a smile. And then you understand that that person is for you. That person is in your circle. Because when I go to the gym, I have my gym circle, right? Everyone's there. And it's so funny because even if I don't speak to someone, I know if I've ever like if I had to ask for some help or a spot or something, they'll be sure thing, because the mentality that's in that, that system, that ecosystem of the gym is different. Now, of course, if you're going to the library, of course, you can ask people for help and things like that, especially if they're reading a certain type of book. You might have a question. Of course, don't bother them too much, because they might say, hey, I got a lot of work. But most people love to help people. But today, we just don't have the opportunity, right? Most people are just kind of, I'm going to do what I have to do, and I'm going to keep on moving, and maybe I have time to slow down. But most people don't. We live at at such a fast-paced speed, where we're always looking at what's next, what next is to come. If this person is no good, I'll get another one, right? We can keep on swiping left and right in life of all the people that we have, and maybe we are going to vibe with someone for now, and maybe a little bit later in life, maybe that person's no longer for us. So then we kind of just abandon them, and we keep on moving. Well, this happens quite a bit, where we have people that are there for the come up, or the final product, whatever you want to consider it, right? Figure out if a person is for you short term, long term, or again, you do have to do the work to figure out if a person's going to be for you short term or long term. But at the end of the day, we are social creatures, and you need at least one person. If you can give yourself, again, that it could be your husband, it could be your wife, it could be your best friend, it could be that. But we need someone. And if we don't have it, we have a lot more challenges along the way. So find that buddy, find that friend. If you're looking for someone, of course, reach out to me, ReardenConcepts.com. We'll be more than happy to have a conversation and talk to you and see what we can do, give you some advice, how you can find people in your communities that you can resonate with and talk to and ask for help if you need it, and just kind of bump ideas off of. Of course, you can join group coaching, or if you wanted to elevate that and go into a mastermind group, we can definitely facilitate that. But begin to join groups, right? Just groups that are having good conversations. And typically the conversations in the comments are not really the best conversations that I have seen in the past. But then again, if you are in a live chat room, it can be more stimulating than just the comments. So figure out what is your first step. And then after that step, figure out your end game to be a part of that social creature community.